An Impossible Whopper, because it should be impossible to look this good. When is it my turn to be happy?
Hey man, has anyone seen my pliers? Or my tool belt? Or my square? Donde está my shit?
Informal ADHD poll. When was the last time you conveyed a message using precisely the right amount of words to say the thing that you needed to say? Conversely, when was the last time that you massively overshared for absolutely no reason at all?
Do I remember? No. Hey man, has anyone seen my pliers? Or my tool belt? Or my square? Donde está my shit?
Why haven't you started your homework? Well, because I need to have a clean workspace before I can start doing my homework. Oh, well then just clean your desk. But my brain is telling me I can't do that until I'm done with my homework. That's the dilemma that I'm in. The ADHD dilemma. I'm stuck right there, so... yeah.
Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. Like, he doesn't need his name up in lights, he just wants to be heard, whether...
Get a good night's sleep, because when you are well rested, your ADHD symptoms are less severe.
Get yourself a Bluetooth shower speaker, because that way you can pair your phone to your Bluetooth speaker while you're in the shower and listen to your favorite TV shows or podcasts, and that way that task is more stimulating for your brain, so it's not as difficult to do.
Hi. Welcome back. I am a 35-year-old man who just took Adderall for the first time in his life. And I now realize that my entire life is a lie. Is this how most people experience things? With this kind of clarity? My anxiety is gone. I have never sat still without stimulation for this long, ever. How have I survived up to this point? How am I alive?
My ADHD brain is a series of contradictions, and I'm going to tell you why. My brain only operates in two states, hyperfocus or no focus. When I'm hungry, I won't eat. When I'm not hungry, I'll eat everything. I constantly feel like I need to be complimented, yet I can't take a single compliment to save my life. I can zone out anything, sounds, noises, people, anything like that. Or I get overloaded by the slightest little sound or person. I can know that I am an expert in a very specific field, but then, as soon as I start talking to somebody, I feel like a fake. My ADHD thrives on structure. But when somebody tries to force structure on me, it also resists screaming and hollering. My ADHD brain is a series of contradictions, part 2. It constantly craves stimulation and get overstimulated very rapidly. Melatonin is supposed to put me to sleep and has no effect. Caffeine is supposed to boost me up and actually calms me down. I'm always either hours early or a couple minutes late. Also, I get mad when people are either hours early or constantly late. Criticism will drive me to the extent where I will not fail. Or criticism will destroy me and I won't try anything at all. In a conversation, I either cannot shut up or I can't talk. I won't clean anything in my house and I will let it all pile up. Or I'll clean everything in like 2 hours because I can't stand it anymore.
So I had this task on my closing duties list that I just kept avoiding. I would do it really inconsistently, and then I would feel kind of bad that I didn't complete the list. So I came up with this honestly kind of mind-blowing hack to make sure the entire list gets done. I took that item off the list, and now the whole list gets done. But Casey, you say, the item you took off isn't getting done. Well, it wasn't getting done when it was on the list either. Only now, I don't feel guilty about it. It just goes back to being sporadically done when I think about it. and I still have a functioning closing duty list. So, highly recommend.
Another way that ADHD showed up in my childhood, but none of us realized it, specific to unregulated attention, is the way that I talk and converse and tell stories. My earliest memory of this has to do with AOL Instant Messenger, AIM. So middle school and high school was a big AIM time for me because I'm in my 30s. And I was notorious for being the person who sent you like 15 messages in a row. So, and this is how I text to this day. Long messages don't know her. So I think now in hindsight that was probably ADHD related because my brain moves very quickly and there's like an impulse control thing going on too. So I'm like thought, send, instead of like slowing down and taking a moment to like figure it all out and write a paragraph, right? So that's never going to be how I talk, and certainly not then. Also, the way that I tell stories is very winding. I was once told that I tell stories as if I am climbing up a tree and I walk out to the edge of every branch like on the way up. So telling very winding, very lots of side note stories. Definitely
ADHDers. How excited do you get when you help someone else? How excited do you get when someone has a problem and you know exactly how to fix it? How excited do you get when the knowledge you accrued from hyper-focusing on something suddenly is going to help someone through a problem? How excited do you get when there's an emergency and suddenly you can spring into action and be the hero? We are natural helpers, but it's more than that. How much easier is it to do things when you have someone to do it with? How much less stressful is working on a project when you can break up the tasks into things that you're good at and the things someone else is good at? How often do you need support with things that someone else might think is simple? How often do you need accountability? How often is it helpful to have someone to check in with to see if your impulsive decision is a good decision? We're not just helpers. We're wired for community, but we've been told to feel guilty about receiving help from community. So we give, and we give, and we give, and we burn out. Allow yourself to receive.
If I asked you how you deal with frustrating or stressful situations, what would your answer be? If you have ADHD, your answer might be not very well. Fun fact, that is incredibly common in people with ADHD. So much so that they've actually studied it. So what is frustration tolerance and why does it matter? Put simply, frustration tolerance is our ability to overcome obstacles and deal with frustrating and stressful situations. For example, your truck breaking down for the second time on a cross-country road trip. That's not a joke, the transmission just went out, but I decided to make it educational. It's fine, we're all fine. Understanding frustration tolerance in conversation with ADHD is really important, because you're not a bad person if you get frustrated. You're not a bad person if you get stressed out or you struggle to deal with big emotions. That can be related to your ADHD. And knowing how you respond to stressful situations allows you to plan ahead and to work harder to do better next time if maybe you freak out a little bit. Also, if anybody knows anything fun to do in Oklahoma for the next 3 days.
One of my favorite parts of ADHD, after you're prescribed the medication, are the conversations that you get to have with people in your life that are like, "You're taking the stimulant medication? Do you have any idea how unhealthy that is for you?" "Oh, honey child, do you have any idea how much caffeine I was consuming per day before the medication? Between 700 and 1500 milligrams per day. Now, I'm a generally happy human being, so I hesitate to call that casually suicidal, but medically speaking, the maximum recommended dose per day is 300 milligrams. So I feel like I picked the lesser of two evils. You know, these days, I have a pill and then a very tasteful 69 milligrams of caffeine, and I'm set. I have come to terms with the fact that it's just battle of the stimulants in my biochemistry.
How to save money if you have executive dysfunction. Let's go. Tip number 1, multiple checking accounts are your friends. My partner and I have 4 different checking accounts. Yes, 4, happy to go into more detail, but basically we have 1 for our bills, 1 for our weekly expenditures like groceries and gas, and we each have a personal checking account for our fun money / allowances. It's just a small amount, but it keeps it separate so it helps prevent us from overspending. 2, start small. You wouldn't walk into the gym and just try lifting 500 pounds straight off the street, so why are you trying to save a huge amount when you have no practice in doing so? Start with something like saving $20 in order to spend $20, so saving $40 total, and then grow from there. 3, sometimes you have to lie to yourself. If you're gonna use a tip like my savings ladder and you wanna save $100 in order to spend $100, but you know that as soon as you get to 100, you're just gonna spend it instead of actually saving the 200, lie to yourself. That thing that's $100, it's no longer $100, it's now $200. And 4 is the most painful, check your bank account often. I have ADHD, which means out of sight equals out of mind. If you're struggling with savings, try setting a calendar alert to check in with your bank account weekly. That way you don't lose sight of your goals.
And to continue our ADHD tour, if you look to our left right here, you will see an ADHD person who has not drank any water today and will continue to argue that they don't need to drink any water today. Next, we'll have the ADHD person who forgot to do their laundry.